Mr. Brownstone dancing.
Oh, Lord. And we're going to be going right here to the finals. It's Ricky Zhao versus Gerry Thompson. Ricky Zhao playing a more traditional blue-white Caw-Blade, and Gerry Thompson blue-white-black. Ricky Zhao, interestingly, has access to Volition Reigns from his sideboard, has access to Sun Titan, as does Gerry Thompson, and Ricky Zhao also has Baneslayer Angel in his main deck. Now, we were talking earlier about the mixed bag that Baneslayer Angel represents, because Baneslayer Angel can totally dominate a board, even if there are swords involved. But because of Tumble Magnet, which in Jerry's case, Gerry does not have Tumble Magnet.
Yep.
But because of Tumble Magnet, that often gets held back. Then the other thing, though, is that a Baneslayer Angel gets trumped entirely by a Gideon.
Yes, exactly. And Jerry's list does have Gideon.
Yes.
And Jerry's list also has Inquisitions, which will do a great job at, letting him win the early game, which is the first plan when you're playing this mirror match. And what this mirror match is about is for the first 2 to 4 turns, the game is entirely about a sword advantage. And then from turn 5 on, it becomes this Planeswalker war. And after that, it becomes this combination war, where it's a combination of Planeswalkers and swords. And you're trying to fight this sword war in the beginning, and to win that sword war, to win that Squadron Hawk war, Inquisition of Kozilek is far stronger than the cards that Blue-White has access to, like
Right.
Spell Pierce.
Now, one of the things to remember with both of these players, they've seen each other's deck lists. So looking at Ricky Zhao's list, Gerry Thompson is sure to realize that Tumble Magnet is the only way, other than Day of Judgment, that Ricky Zhao has to deal with creatures on the table. And I guess I should also say Gideon and Jace, but basically permanents are the only way Ricky Zhao has to deal with a creature on the table. So if there's not a permanent there, Gerry Thompson will know it's clear.
Yeah, now Ricky Zhao is probably very happy that he won the play. The play is very important for him. Jerry's a little bit safer on the draw because he has access to cards like Inquisition of Kozilek. Ricky getting to resolve that Squadron Hawk. Pretty important here.
Absolutely.
Now, looks to me like Gerry has a Marsh Flats in his hand, so he did have access to turn 1 black. I doubt he had an Inquisition in his hand. He definitely would have used that. And he draws an Inquisition off the top of his library. It's a bit disappointing for him. I'm sure he would have liked to have grabbed that Squadron Hawk out of his opponent's hand before his opponent got to search for more, but he can't be too upset about grabbing a Squadron Hawk, or playing a Stoneforge Mystic and grabbing a sword.
Well, I mean, one of the things about that is, when your opponent has a disappointing hand, and you've discovered that with a Duress or an Inquisition of Kozilek or a Thoughtseize or a Cabal Therapy, you're never ever too sad that they have a disappointing hand. Okay.
So, next turn, Jerry's going to get to cast an Inquisition, which will either take a sword that Ricky's going to grab with a Stoneforge Mystic, or it may just nab a Mana Leak out of his hand. At which point Gerry can then pass the turn and use the Stoneforge Mystic's activated ability to drop a sword into play. And Ricky plays another Hawk and passes the turn back to Gerry. Jerry's going to crack a Marsh Flats, he's going to grab a Swamp, and we can expect an Inquisition of Kozilek from him. And that's probably going to spike the Mana Leak out of Ricky's hand. I doubt Ricky has Stoneforge Mystic or a sword, considering the way things have played out thus far.
I mean, it's possible he's unlucky enough to have a sword in hand. It looks like Hawk, Leak, Jace, Land.
That Stoneforge Mystic is not in his hand. It's actually on Jerry's side of the battlefield.
Oh, is it? Okay, good. Yeah. Thank you.
No worries. Now, Jerry's going to nab this Mana Leak here. And Ricky's going to get the turn. Ricky on this turn is going to have an opportunity to attempt to play Jace the Mind Sculptor. And if Gerry does not have a counterspell in his hand, and I can't quite tell if he does or not, then Jerry's going to be in for some trouble here.
And Ricky all but has to play it at this point, since he has, he knows his opponent knows that the coast is clear.
Yeah, now it's also interesting because, you know, Gerry has Jace of his own in his hand, but Jace on the draw is significantly worse than Jace on the play. Ricky's not going to have to pick up that Jace. Ricky can simply, you know, start brainstorming right away, and then Gerry's playing from behind with his own brainstorms. Gerry's just going to go ahead and play Squadron Hawk as opposed to getting the sword on the table.
And it's so quickly Ricky's path that he had at this point in the game, in the early parts of the game, were essentially putting down some Hawks and using that to chip away at the life total, and then until he gets a Jace down the table, right? And Hawks are so easily answered by another Caw-Blade deck.
Yeah, but the big thing here is that Ricky's going to get to stick a Jace with 2 guys up to block, and that's exceptionally dangerous here.
Yep.
He's getting a free brainstorm because Gerry's definitely going to have to tap out for a Jace of his own on the next turn if Gerry has the mana for it. And that brainstorm effect is just so powerful, especially in combination with fetch lands. That's something we see a lot in Legacy. They'll put back the cards they don't want and they shuffle them away.
Just having that with even the single Hawk left in his hand, if he's got 2 Hawks in hand, just having that as a combination is just really absurd.
Ricky's going to serve in with a single Hawk. Gerry's happy to trade. Less clutter on the table is good when you have sword advantage. Gerry drew a land that comes into play tap that produces blue. Not ideal. Now, Gerry has a few options here. Looks like the fact that he does not have double blue despite the high density of duels in his deck is going to prevent him from casting even a little Jace here.
One of the things to think about when it comes to questions of color. So with Gerry's deck, Gerry has 15 sources of blue, and his opponent, on the other hand, has access to 17 sources of blue. That can come into play a little bit when you're going for that third color. A lot of players that you've talked to have often been more happy with the pure blue-white, not only because you have less comes into play tap possibilities, with only 8 possibilities in general in the blue-white build versus the Gerry Thompson, which has the possibility of 11, but also that extra blue just means you're more stable, and it gives you the opportunity to, on top of that, play more Tectonic Edges, where there's 4 Tectonic Edges from Ricky Zoo here versus 1 Tectonic Edge from Gerry Thompson.
Yeah, and we've seen Tectonic Edge be huge in this match. Whenever you get ahead, you can just start edging your opponent aggressively. You can get a massive advantage.
A lot of people overlook the value of mana. Mana is innocuous, but it's really a truly powerful part of how Magic decks interact. Someone having more stable mana can make a huge difference.
Yeah, that's why having a way to remove Lotus Cobra is just so important right now. Ricky's Jace is just going to... ooh, now he's a Gideon to go with it.
Yikes.
This is especially bad for Gerry. I mean, it seems unreasonable to think that Ricky is going to lose the game at this point.
I think that's accurate.
I think maybe Gerry can Dream Leash his opponent's Gideon after he attacks with it.
Dream Leash. I've cast me some Dream Leashes.
Oh yeah. Now we have the Inquisition coming from Gerry. Gerry gets to take either a Spell Pierce or one of 2 Squadron Hawks. I imagine he's going to nab the Spell Pierce. It at least gives him, the chance to deal with these Planeswalkers by playing copies of his own. His opponent still has his Gideon on the table, but Gerry has effectively removed the Jace with his own Jace. The fact that he only had to play 3 mana for it's pretty nice here. It meant that he get Inquisition on the same turn.
For mana, the Jace. Once you get the Jace advantage, even if they deal with it, it becomes so easy to reestablish it.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you play a Jace and Brainstorm, and then your opponent has to play a Jace to get rid of the Jace, and then you just play another Jace and Brainstorm again, it puts your opponent in a really awkward spot. Like you're just gaining this massive advantage, and they're just going to be playing from behind and like playing cards that don't play catch-up effectively. Like in order for, Jace is one of those cards where if the board is empty and you play a Jace, it's very difficult to lose again.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to be probably seeing a lot of Jaces for the rest of the day as well when we're talking about the Legacy portion. Jace is a card of such power that it's proven itself in Legacy largely because Jace and Force of Will in the same deck are pretty absurd.
Oh yeah, being able to Jace, Brainstorm, and then Force of Will your opponent's spell and get to untap with a Jace is such a powerful effect. Ooh, Ricky drew a Stoneforge Mystic. Now he's fighting the sword game, and he's winning the Planeswalker War. And that's probably just going to lock it up.
I mean, to my mind, this game already felt pretty close to locked up numerous turns ago. I think when that first Jace hit, I just felt like it was
pretty bad. Having a Jace on turn 4 on the play in this matchup is just so strong when your opponent hasn't, been able to like establish a dominant board presence.
Mana was a huge part of that.
Yeah,
not having the second blue.
Had Gerry had a turn 1 Inquisition, the game would have been completely different. Had Gerry had a dual land as opposed to a basic swamp and basic plains, he would have been fine. It really came down to the exact cards that Gerry drew were the wrong cards for the situation.
Yes.
Now, Ricky's out of tech hedges, but still has a mana advantage to go with every other type of advantage he has.
Now, one of the things that's not very illuminated in this particular game that we've seen thus far is a game that was sculpted by the decisions that the players made, letting one person climb on top. I really feel like they both are making solid decisions, if not good or great decisions, but Gerry did not have the right cards at the right moment.
Yeah, and I mean, that happens.
That's magic, yeah. Part of the reason I actually enjoy watching Caw-Blade play against Caw-Blade is seeing the games where those decisions happen. Seeing the games where those decisions are really, really there and are real.
Yeah, I mean, winning the die roll in a Caw-Blade match, especially when you're the blue-white version with 4 tech edges, it just, it makes you think that like you have a pretty big advantage. Ooh, another tech edge from Ricky, and it's just more nails. Now, Gerry draws a land that comes into play untapped, but not quite what he wants there.
End of the turn, down comes the sword.
And Gerry at least has some blockers for the sword. Interestingly enough, Linvala is actually quite good against Gerry's deck from Ricky Zhao, even though Gerry doesn't have anything that's turned off by the Linvala. Linvala blocks Stoneforge Mystic or Squadron Hawk suited up with like any of the equipment.
Oh, wow. So, Day of Judgment.
Oh, and that Day of Judgment's going to let him then animate his Gideon post-combat and equip it.
Here is the thing that's worth noticing, though. Gerry has Condemn, Doomblade, and Go for the Throat in his deck. So that it is possible that if he taps out, and let's pretend that this spell resolves, which it looks like it might be being countered, that he could really punish Ricky for it. But it looks like he might be getting mana leaked there. There it is, mana leak.
Yeah, I mean, he basically has to do that. There's no way he could possibly win the game if his opponent has,
if he has the creature kill spell, he would actually, I think, come into the position of being in really dominating, not dominant, he'd be in a good position suddenly if his opponent lets his Gideon get condemned or Doomblade or Go for the Throat.
Oh, yeah, I mean, then suddenly he has sword advantage.
Yeah. One of the things I keep thinking about, actually, is how this matchup is going to change once Sword of War and Peace shows up.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm sure the format will change completely. The fact that people have access to a sword that gives their creatures protection from white and red is just so huge, white especially.
Yeah, I was going to say protection from Squadron Hawk.
Yeah, protection from Squadron Hawk, protection from Stoneforge Mystic. I think the red-white sword doesn't even have to have abilities attached to it, and it will be completely format changing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it'll be obviously yet more than we're thinking about once we see what happens with it. But, so much of these matchups, maybe we'll see more of Gomazoas, right?
Yeah.
Not Gomazoas.
Gargomaza?
Yeah.
Yeah, he might be a champ. Fighting red-white sword. I mean, I would play red-white sword if when the creature was equipped to dealt combat damage to my opponent, it dealt damage to me. I would still play.
Wow. There's been some conjecture about what it's going to be, but all I know is right now, looking at this board, pro-white would be awesome.
Oh, yeah. And this is what boards look like a lot in Standard.
Another Jace, and it scoops it up there for Gerry.
Yeah, I mean, Ricky was just in solid control of that game the entire time. Gerry had a few mana issues, stumbled a little bit, and he just couldn't get double blue as early as he needed to. Ricky, on the other hand, Ricky developed very well. Led a Squadron Hawk into some more board clutter, into a turn for Jace the Mind Sculptor, and Gerry didn't have a second blue to follow turn with Jace Bellerin, so his opponent Rick ended up getting multiple activations out of that Jace before Gerry could get it off the table, and by the time that had happened, Rick had just picked up more Jaces, picked up Gideons,
right,
and just had the powerful mid-game spells he needed to dominate the game.
Okay, so my question right now, for those of you who are wanting to win 12 months of free premium that are out there listening on SCG Live, if you go to the Twitter hashtag SCG Premium, what player in our top 4 was not playing Jace the Mind Sculptor? What player in our top 4 was not playing Jace the Mind Sculptor? And you can put that answer to pound SCG Premium and win 12 months free premium for Star City Games.
Now with sideboarding for this match, I'm interested to see what they both decide to bring in. But I know for a fact that Rick's going to want his Sun Titan and his Volition Marines. Gerry may want Sun Titan. It's not quite as good for him in this match. Rick has to worry about his swords being positioned. Gerry's does not. But I suppose Gerry does have to worry about them being Divine Offeringed or countered. So we could definitely see some Sun Titan action happen. It's also a good way to fight the late game tech edge that Ricky may try to lock Gerry down with. Now, one thing that I'm excited to see is the interaction of Inquisition in Game 3, just because, Gerry didn't have it in his hand in Game 1
Right.
on the draw, and had he had it, the game would have been completely different. Inquisition is really what gives this deck an edge in the mirror. So, on the play, it's also strong, but the reason it's so good is that it makes it makes being on the draw a much more winnable position.
Right. So Gerry has access to Jace Beleren. He has access to Duress. He has access to Sun Titan. So with access to Jace Beleren and Sun Titan, he says that that's a part of what he does for the matchup normally against Caw-Blade decks, right? Is that what he told you? Jace Beleren and Sun Titan are a part of his package?
I would assume so.
So his opponent only has one Sun Titan and no Jace Bellerens at all. Does Sun Titan even come in for Rick Zhao, since he does not have Jace Beleren to help make it work?
Oh,
is it
definitely,
just there for the sword recovery?
It's also good with Tectonic Edge recovery for him.
Right.
The fact that Gerry has the Inquisitions, the fact that Gerry has access to a card like Duress, Rick's really going to want those Sun Titans. They're even more valuable against Gerry.
Okay. So his Silvok Lifestaff isn't that great. He does have a Sword of Body in mind, which has reasonable utility against Gerry. Does he bring in Mortar Pot?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I may just take out the Silvok Lifestaff and not bring in an extra equipment. I think what I'd really just want here is I'd want both copies of Illusion Reigns and the Sun Titan, and I'd probably want to just shave some of my mid game. I'd shave off a pair of Day of Judgments and a Silvok Lifestaff. I'm not sure if the extra Baneslayer comes in. It may. You may want it more than you want Day of Judgment. But I kind of like having a Miser's Day of Judgment. It's one of those cards that's really nice to have one of,
especially
when you're playing Jaces and Preordains.
With 3 cards.
Having that one out is really strong.
I know he's bringing in Divine Offering. He's brought it in against the other Caw-Blade matchups.
Yeah, I didn't realize he had a Divine Offering. I haven't seen that much this weekend. Divine Offering's incredible here. It's a really good way to win the Sword War again, and Gerry wins Sword War with cards like Inquisition, but Ricky's deck has to do it the old-fashioned way. He has to have disenchant effects.
Yeah. Gerry starts out with the same opening that Ricky did, turn 2 Squadron Hawk.
And it only finds 2 Squadron Hawks. Gerry may have sideboard one out, and I think he's probably just leaving himself at 7 cards.
Yeah. Ricky, on the other hand, sits back on 2 mana.
Yeah,
on the draw, that seems kind of a little bit rough. I mean, you're saving yourself up for a mana leak. There's so many 2-drops you could cast.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Gerry, I'd be content to play land go over and over again. You can't really, Ricky has 100% telegraphed mana leak here. It's very, very hard for Gerry to not think his opponent has a mana leak. His opponent has 8 2-drop creatures in his deck.
I mean, on this next turn, Ricky does not have much in the way of threatening things he can play. He could play a Tumble Magnet. He could have one of the swords in his hand. I might just play down that Squadron Hawk now while I still can. Yeah, there we are. And then next turn start playing Drago. Caw-Go, if you will.
Yeah, that makes sense. Ooh, it does not seem that Gerry searched with that Squadron Hawk, so he may have in fact sided one out.
And walking into the venue, I see a Louis Scott Vargas is joining us today for Legacy.
Ooh, exciting. And we have Gerry. I doubt he's just going to go for a Jace here. That seems a bit brazen.
There's no way Gerry would do that unless somebody hit him over the head before this round.
That seems a little more like Gerry.
Inquisition, checking to see if either a more potent card or a Jace Beleren can come in. Ricky, probably with Mana Leak in hand, is just thinking, well, I guess you get to see it. Double Mana Leak.
Ooh.
It's a Jace Beleren, double Mana Leak, Spell Pierce. Is that a Divine Offering? Is that a... I think that's a white card there.
Yeah, it may also just be a Tumble Magnet. Huh, this is a pretty difficult decision. I wish I knew what that other card was. Yeah, that's a Divine Offering.
Divine Offering.
Now, Ricky gets his 4th land, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him just go for a Jace here. Jerry's deck does not have nearly as much counter magic as his, so the chance that he just gets to resolve that now and have a huge advantage in this game are pretty good. Again, just the 2 Hawks on Jerry's side of the board, though, that makes it a lot harder for Ricky to just play the Jace because his Jace is in danger right away. Gerry could also just play Black Source and bash with his Grouping Tar Pit. Now, interestingly enough, Gerry decides, well, I'm just going to pass.
Wow, Jace resolves.
I'm kind of interested in Jerry's reason for just passing. I think, it's kind of risky to just wait that period of time.
I think maybe he was kind of just daring his opponent to say, I've got the counter spell, you're not going to tap out for it.
Yeah.
And from Ricky's perspective, I think he was like, this is my game now. I don't have much to stop you from doing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on the draw and your opponent let off with Squadron Hawks, you don't really have much of a choice than to just slam your Planeswalker and hope it resolves. It's really hard to play catch up in this match.
Yeah. There's a sword.
Gerry casts Stoneforge Mystic and finds sort of Feast and Famine. His opponent can be pretty confident at this point that Gerry does not have a copy of a counterspell in his hand. Gerry recognizes that and decides to develop his board more. We'll have to see if Ricky kept in any Wrath effects. This could be quite good right now. Ooh, Ricky is a Gideon, and that Gideon combination, that Jace, I mean...
That's just so harsh.
Yeah, it's really rough. Ricky's been playing this top 8 very well.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, he's been leaving his mana open in the right spots. He's been tech hedging when he's supposed to. He's been, doing the right things with his Jace when he needs to. It's really interesting to see somebody... just come out of nowhere and just be able to play a deck like such a master.
Attention players.
Now, these up-and-coming players are Ricky Zhao's of the world. These people are going to, define the Star City Games Open Series. That's kind of like one of the great things about it is it gives players who, you don't need to be a Pro Tour veteran to come out to the Star City Games event and prove that you're worthy of playing with the best. Ricky Zhao now already up a game and doing very well in this game against Gerry Thompson.
Gerry is adding another Stoneforge Mystic to the board, just basically, in a certain way, hoping that Ricky has taken out all of the days or most of the days, just pushing it onto the table to try to get rid of that Gideon while he can.
And now he... This game is far from over, though. Gerry's board presence is very healthy, and despite the Gideon on the other side of the table, he still has a shot. It's just very hard because he really, really needs to push through this, and time is of the essence right now. So, wouldn't be surprised to see some type of sword play. Chair decides to put the sword into play on his main phase to attack with 3 hawks. So it's back on Ricky. Ricky has some Gideon action, some Jace, and good amount of land. And despite how cluttered Gerry's board is, Ricky's board looks a lot more impressive.
Okay, making a valiant effort. The creatures come in and then die. Day of Judgment.
Sorry.
So, a quick update from across the pond. Grand Prix Barcelona. The top 8 over there includes 2 blue-black control, not as in Caw, but as in blue-black control. 2 blue-white-black Cawblade. One of them is a Tezzeret Cawblade deck. 2 Rugs and 2 Valakuts.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, that Day of Judgment a moment ago, followed up by a
Tectonic
Pepping, the
Edge.
Tectonic Edge on Gerry Thompson, just tears things open.
Yeah,
A
the game
lonely
has,
Squadron Hawk comes down.
The game has become very difficult for Gerry, and that's the thing is, Ricky really drew the cards that seem to matter in the mid game.
Mm-hmm.
He played them at the right times. He, he was very patient with his counter magic. He didn't just jam that Jason on turn 4. He held up. He waited till Gerry tapped down all of his lands except 2. And then he was able to cast the Jason with Spell Pierce back up. Completely safe for Mana Leak. And now Ricky's just gonna get to bash with Gideon.
Yeah. Get some value from Jace.
Magic players, your seatings for the player meeting have been posted. Please find your seats so we can get started.
I mean, I almost wonder if, I hear the player meeting starting, if Gerry can quick say, hey man, I'll concede so I can play in Legacy.
He has buys, I believe, right?
He does have buys, good point.
How many does he have?
He's got 2 buys?
What a master.
So how has Gerry done the last couple of events?
Top 8 of the last Legacy
Good
event.
morning,
He won the
Magic
last
player.
Standard event.
Right.
On behalf of
About to come in second in this event.
DCI, I would like to welcome you to the Legacy Open here in Los Angeles,
I'm
California.
guessing we're going to be covering
My
the
name is
top 8
Nicholas,
tonight.
I'm the event staffing coordinator.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't play
Couple of quick
Counterbalance. I hope he
announcements.
plays something that's
First
not
off,
Counterbalance. I did
I don't
see him.
think
It
he
looked
will.
like he had Pro Tour junk
valuable.
earlier last night.
Please,
Yeah, he
if you have food or drink on the table today, keep
he's
them
been
on
playing
the floor. We
different
really
types of
hate
decks
for
recently.
bills to become
Every
forced.
Legacy event he goes to, he seems to have something new.
Into the Royal from Gerry Thompson.
Also, a brief note on electronics.
I mean, that's
If you
pretty
have
good
cell
right
phone,
here.
Countered.
iPod, iPad, pager,
Ooh.
beeper, semaphore, whatever, they need to remain off during your match. The only exception to this is if you are keeping track of your life on a smartphone or some device, in which case it must be visible to both you and to your opponent. At this time, folks, if you do not have someone seating directly
There we
across
go.
from you, please
Gerry
raise your
Thompson
hand.
scoops it up.
Yeah, and Ricky Sao's our Star City Games Standard Open Los Angeles champion.
Please keep your
Now,
hands
Absolutely.
up. One of the judges comes
That's
to talk.
exciting.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, he did a
He
great
gets
job.
a trophy.
Every time that I watched
Did I
him
do this
play,
on trophy?
he looked like he was just kind of pacing things in a really, really cautious, smart
All right.
way. He did a really great job here today, and unopposed best deck champion.
Yeah, and I mean, look how happy he is, and realize he just end bossed. You know what I mean? How's